Hi, this is Brett G,
And I'm Jim D, and
and we're
this
here
is
Chatterbox.
Chatterbox.
Yes,
We'll
sir.
get it right one of these days.
Yeah, the day that we do it, simultaneously, it'll. Oh, I forgot to hit record. Sorry.
You people don't expect anything better, right?
Well, not from these clowns.
If you
Um,
if you want perfection, this is not the place.
Not the place.
So,
Um,
what's the topic?
Topic today. Jim picked this topic, and it is what do you expect from a kit?
Yeah,
So,
what do you expect from a kid? You want to start? You want me
wait,
to start?
let me get my finger pointing in the right direction.
You go like this, then you're right. You got a
Yeah, there
50%
you go.
chance of being
Yep.
right.
It's like, hit it, Jim. Take it away. This was your
Well,
topic, so start it off.
yeah, so what, I guess for me, there's what brought this up recently. This has always been a thing. I mean, if you go back to when I restarted, I did a video about kits and, basically different levels of kits and price ranges and stuff and expectations and with the demise of Kitty Hawk and different things, the conversation comes up, well, who, on kit quality. And I'm a value shopper. I'm not necessarily, I don't necessarily have to have the best and pay the best, but I'm willing to spend money on things that I want or that I prefer. But I draw the line at certain things. And that's with everything. I'm not just talking about model kits. There are some things that are just not worth it when it comes
Right.
to, it just depends. So, um, like when I worked construction for a couple of years, just doing remodels and stuff. And everybody cringes when I say this, but I bought $5 Harbor Freight framing hammers. That's what I used. They work. It's a hammer, right? But here was the thing. I would go and I would buy about 5 or 10 of those a week, and I would show up on the job site and everybody knew that I had extra hammers. They were $5. If I never got it back, I didn't care. But there was so everybody, but the guys on the job site knew if they needed a hammer or something, they knew I had spares.
Right.
Because I had a bag full, literally had a bag full of hammers. And it's like I didn't worry about it if I left it at a job site or something. It's like it's not a $90 hammer. I don't care. I'm not going back for it.
Right.
Yep. So to me, that was a value thing. A lot of people, like, I can't believe you're using a Harbor Freight hammer. It pounds nails.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I get it, but anyway, so for me, I have different expectations from what's a good example? The 30-second Mustang kit. I have different expectations from the $30 Revell kit than I do the $150 or $180, whatever it costs now, Tamiya kit.
Right.
I have completely different. Is the Tamiya kit better? Undoubtedly. I have no doubt in my mind that it's better, whatever that means. Right. I'm sure that, the details probably better, the fits, well, maybe the details not, but, probably less fit issues, whatever. The engineering, I'm sure, is better, but it's 5 times the cost.
Right.
So for me, there's a value thing. If I was like a Mustang guy, yeah, that would probably figure into it too, but I'm not. So for me, the Revell kit, I'm not a big fan of inline engines in general. So that's a really good example of how my brain goes about it.
Right.
But I'm also irrational. I'll admit up front, it's like, if somebody, if that same if that's so, if it was a P47 instead of a P51, oh yeah, you bet I'm getting the Tamiya kit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's fun. And it's
but
funny you bring up the P51 because, I just built that one last year, the Tamiya or the Revell kit.
yeah,
And I have the Tamiya kit that I'm going to build at some point here in the not too distant future. So I'll be able to kind of compare it.
right,
But yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. And it's the Revell. I'll be talking about Revell of Germany again here pretty soon. But I really got I'd heard of Revell of Germany, but the first time I saw of anyone that had built one was Martin Lamont of International British Modeler.
right,
And he loves those Revell of Germany kits because of the very thing you're saying, value.
yeah,
You're getting,
yeah,
the kit is, $30 for a 32nd scale kit, but it's really a really, really good value because I'd asked him, I said, hey, have you ever gotten like any of the extra stuff, like, some of the like resin aftermarket stuff? He goes, no, because I build straight out of the box. That's why I'm picky about the kits I get. And he likes the value for money. It's like, yeah, he can get the Tamiya kit and it would be awesome, but he can do what he wants to do with no problems with the Revell kit.
right.
So he's, I had a conversation with him on via messenger or something, and he talked a lot about that because, he's like, I'm all about value. If I can get a nice kit for less money to accomplish what I want to do, that's what I'm going to do. Just because it costs more doesn't necessarily mean it's better enough to, like you say, spend, 3 or 4 times the amount.
Right. And yeah. So, I mean, apparently this is a normal thing.
Yeah, it is. Well, kinda. I mean,
yeah.
and again, I'll get back to the Revell of Germany thing in a little bit, but
Well, I think, what we've seen in the last few years, and I'm going to use Tamiya as the only real example I could think of at the moment, is, with the F-14s, the 2 F-14 kits. Now did you see the new version of
I haven't seen it yet, but
with the flight deck crew and
right,
whatnot, the shooter?
Yeah, I read
like, okay, I really was kind of on the fence about one of those, but that's pretty cool. I might like it. But with those F-14s and then the P-38 and now the F-4, if you're, this is where I get in trouble. If you're a painter, and that's okay, it's okay to be a painter. If you're a painter, more than an assembler or a builder, whatever word you want to use, that's where you want to go.
Those are the perfect kits.
Because it fall, the old throw the glue in and shake the box definitely applies. Applies.
Like another YouTube channel, that shakes the box and out comes the tank.
Yeah.
I love that one, man. It's just like throw the stuff in there, shake it up, and boom.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to stopping by his booth at Nats.
Yeah, but that would be cool.
But yeah, so is that, what am I trying to say? So I guess what I'm trying to say is, some people are saying, well, is it the ZM F4s are great, so is it worth an extra $30 or whatever, to $35 or whatever, to jump up to the Tamiya F4B? Well, I mean, I haven't built a ZM kit. I don't know. I might, if I could find a deal, I might get their F4E. Actually, I would really love to see them put out an F4G Wild Weasel kit, but so I'm willing to go there. I wouldn't mind having their TA-152 either, to be honest, but I don't think that you can even get that anymore.
Yeah.
but so for me, just taking F4s for an example is, so you've got the old Monogram F4 CD kit. God, I don't know. I built 2 or 3 of those, and it was a good kit. And then I think my next F4 kit was that Tester's RF4C kit, which I don't know whose plastic that was originally or whatever, but that was a pretty basic kit, really basic.
Yeah.
And then I did Hasegawa, and that it? Is that all the F4s I've ever built? Maybe. But so I guess in my head I'm looking at, Hasegawa F4s were $50, $40, $50 or something back in the day. And they're not bad, but it's typical Hasegawa, which is okay.
Yeah.
But is this Tamiya kit? Well, I mean, now I guess the academies are $50 or $60, and I hear those are really good. And then, the Zucamora gets you up in the $75, $80 range, and the Tamiya gets you into the $100, $110 range. It seems to me that there are enough differences along the line that those price jumps are warranted. That there's that much. There's some shape issues with the Academy. Some people care, some people don't. The ZM kits, I don't know. I've heard something about the way the cockpit goes. I don't know. I'm just speaking of things that I've heard. And so far, everybody that's touched the Tamiya kit, has nothing bad to say about it.
Right.
I'm sure there's bad things about it, but nobody's talking.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of, but you can go get the Monogram F4C kit at a swap meet for probably $10.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a bad kit at all.
Right. And I think that goes back to what an individual expects from the kit, because just using those P51s as an example, the P50, the Revell kit, the exterior detail, now I haven't actually, did a side-by-side comparison with the Tamiya kit, but in looking at the Revell kit, having built it, the detail on the exterior is really, really good. Yeah. The detail is good. It fits together well and all that kind of stuff. The thing that differentiates the Tamiya kit from what I've read about the Tamiya kit is that the engineering's a little bit different. So some things might go together easier with a little bit less work, but also because, it's designed to be able to not only have like parts exposed, like, you can have all the engine cowlings off so you can see the awesomely detailed engine they have, but you can also put them back on and they look right. You can take them on and off, on and off, on and off. And so depending on what you're looking for, if that's something that you're really looking for, then obviously the Tamiya kit, even though it does cost 4 or 5 times as much, that's the way you want to go.
Right.
If you're just wanting something to sit on the shelf that's a P51 that when you look inside you can see a cockpit and all that kind of stuff, well, there you go.
Right.
Again, some people might find problems with the fit and so forth of the Revell compared to the Tamiya, but there's a few things that are kind of weird on the Revell kit, but not deal breakers, so to speak, especially for the value, the price of it.
Right.
But just like you brought up the Zucamura stuff, again, it depends on what you want in a kit, because I've never handled one, seen one in person, just seen them online and stuff, but they have
interesting.
they have like all kinds of interior detail.
Yes.
Like wing spars and stuff like that. So if you're wanting to build something like, you're building a miniature version of the actual aircraft and the way it went together, well, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
But if you just want something that once you're done, it's like, boom, here, I got my finished product.
And you're building a frame and skinning it.
exactly right.
Yeah. I mean, you are. Yeah.
So that's kind of, you know, that's what a person has to decide what they, which way they want to go. So, what do they like in a kit?
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of always made me shy away. I mean, they came out with, they had a 30-second P51. What, that came out like 2012 or something. And they
Who?
had, with that whole interior thing, and then they had a um oh, what was it now? I can't remember. Dragon had a P51 too at the time, which wasn't, which at the time was good,
Right.
so it's it can take, you can spend a lot of time trying to figure out what's the best value, what's the best bang for your buck.
Right. Yep.
Depending on what you're looking for, it's and what bothers you and what doesn't.
Right.
Different things bother different people. I did you see Dukes's series on the B17, the HK 48
Yeah.
B17 kit?
I remember
I mean,
watching.
I don't think I watched them all,
I didn't either.
but he shelved that thing
Yeah.
because of, I get it. I mean, I'm watching it going, wow, that's an expensive thing to shelf, but I understand,
Right.
because I would be kind of, I mean, just watching him go through it, and it's like I built 3 or 4 of the Monogram G kits, since I was a kid, and it's like, for the money, it's, what are you getting? You're paying an extra $80 for engraved panel lines.
Right.
and less detail, or what are
Right.
you getting? So I mean,
Well, that's you bring up that HK kit. Now they released a 140 or 148 scale. I almost said 147.
yes,
148 of the same aircraft, right?
that's the one he was building. Yes,
He was building the 148.
yes.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was the 132 or the 148. Okay, because I remember one of the things that a lot of people had problems with was I think it was the outboard engines.
Uh-huh.
Like the center line of the engine was lined up with the wing instead of being a little below or something like that. I remember there was just some,
I don't know.
but I
Yeah.
vaguely remember people talking about, it's like, well, the engines are all, not lined up properly or whatever.
Right.
And that brings up another point in what a person looks for in a kit is the Monogram B17 versus the HK, and then you have the old Monogram / Revell A10 Warthog in 148 scale.
Yeah.
Now, almost everything I've ever read, people will say, well, what's the best A10 to build? Well, if you're really concerned about a whole lot of detail, exterior detail, blah, 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 get this or this. If you're worried about the shape being correct, Monogram is the way to go.
Right.
And I've heard that about a lot of the older Monogram kits, is the shape of them. Yeah. And one thing I didn't realize, and I think I read this about the Monogram B17, as far as outline and dimensions and everything else, it's probably the best kit out there as far as those types of accuracy issues. Right. And because they actually got the plans from Boeing,
right,
to make the kit from, right. They use that for their shapes and all that kind of stuff. They didn't just send somebody out to measure and all that kind of stuff. Nowadays they've got all kinds of computer measuring stuff. Right. But so, some people, their thing is, it's like, well, I want, a really accurate outline. And if, then you got some people like Paul Budzik, nothing's accurate enough, so I'll just make my own. I've got the ultimate set of tools, so I'm just going to bust one out in my shop. And, but, you know, it just is for a lot of people. It depends on if they want, you know, shape and dimensional accuracy compared to details and trinkets or whatever you want to call it.
Well, I know. I think you bring up another good facet of it is yeah, accuracy. And again, you know, is that part of the value equation? Yeah, you know,
Depends on the person.
it depends on the person. And I was actually really thinking about this about myself the other day, and I don't remember what brought it on, but um, am I really that much into accuracy? And honestly, I had to be honest with myself and say, not really. You know, I'm to a point, but really for me, um, I'm more worried about an accurate paint job than I am an accurate shape.
Right.
And I
And
never really thought about it before until I actually sat down the other day and really thought through how I do things and how I do my research. And when I'm doing research, I'm looking at paint, I'm looking at weathering, you know, I'm looking at markings. I'm not looking at shape.
right.
I'm not. And
Yeah.
I never thought about it before. I never really had.
Right.
You know?
Well, you know, what at some point we'll get to the where, you know, we'll talk about what I want in a kit.
Right. Okay.
But just as an example, I've got the Tamiya 148 scale BF 109 G6. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just got, I think it's just got one, maybe two sets of markings in them. And one of the things I've discovered about myself is kit markings, with very few exceptions, I'm not interested.
Right.
Because I've probably said it every video we've done, but I'll say it again in case this is everybody's first time. I like things with kind of an interesting backstory to it.
Right.
And since we're talking about aircraft, you know, like that FW-190 where the guy smuggled his wife out in the radio compartment because, you know, he didn't want to get captured by the, you know, the Russians.
Right.
Stuff like that, I find that very, very interesting, especially when they have a really cool scheme to go along with it. And sometimes I don't need just a, you know, a story to go with it, but something a little different as far as the scheme goes. Right. So with this G6, I want to do a G6 in Swiss markings.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I looked high and low, asked on forums, and it's like, well, you know, you can get these, but they're out of print, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, man, it's like, does anybody even have just like some drawings? So I'll paint them on. I don't care, you know, but I need to know what size. Look. Can't find anything. Finally, I did in my own email. I forgot I had emailed myself a long time ago. I emailed myself a link to a place that sells Swiss markings for the G6.
Right.
All that to say this. The Swiss markings I'm going to put on this G6, I don't know if that's the proper G6 that actually made it to Switzerland or was captured by Switzerland.
Right.
Because, you know, especially with German stuff, it's like, you know, yeah, you got a G6, but you've got all these different things like, okay, well, these were built here, and this one had this tail on it. This one had, you know, the wooden tail. This one had the metal tail. This one had the tall tail. This one had the short tail. This one had large bulges in the wings for the wheels and small, large bulges on the cow. And it's like, it's baffling.
Tall tails, short tails. Yeah.
It's like, I don't know enough, nor do I care to know enough about all those, the minutia in the different, I mean, there's guys, it's like, I'll get that thing, I'll get my decals, I'll put them on there, I'll be done with it. And it's like, okay, it's a G6 and Swiss marking, just what I wanted. I could post this and it's not a bag on people. Right. But there would be people that would look at that and say, well, that looks really cool, but that's
got the wrong magneto.
It's the wrong aircraft or whatever. And it's like, well, you know, I can't.
Okay.
I just can't get that into it, you know? So like for certain accuracy issues, I don't care. You know, I just, and it's because it's so complex. Now, you take something like a Sherman tank, it's a little easier to know the Fisher or the Baldwin locomotive or all these different places and which ones they did and when. And that's a little easier to figure out. So stuff like that, I might go a little bit more, and make sure that it's like, okay, did this one have this particular feature? Something's a little bit easier, but man, stuff like the German stuff, just like the Panzer IVs and everything else, it's so confounding, all the differences. For me, when on those types of subjects, accuracy isn't as big a deal, And
I agree, but here's what I would say. If I'm spending top dollar, I have expectations.
Right. No, what I'm saying is in my case, that to me, a G6 is probably completely accurate for the markings that come in the box.
Right. Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah.
It's accurate for the markings that come in the box. So yes, if I'm buying a kit, I want it to be accurate, especially if I'm doing the stuff in the box. I don't want, this guy actually flew a G10, but the markings are for a G6.
Right.
That kind of thing. No, that kind of accuracy I am concerned with. But if I'm getting into something that's going outside of, then I'm not going to be as concerned about the accuracy. The kit may be perfectly accurate for the stuff that comes in the box. Boom, you're good. But I'm doing something different, which I'm going in knowing that it may not be accurate for the markings I'm putting on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm just sitting here thinking, it's well, like I just said, as I spend more and more money, my expectations change.
Right.
But as you just said, some of the most accurate shapes that have ever been put in a box were done in the mid 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And haven't been surpassed.
Right.
The engineering and the detail and whatnot have been. But as far as the accuracy of the outline, not necessarily. So it's really, it really comes down to, well, what do you want and what are you willing to spend? I mean, like going back to Dukes on that B-17, I mean, the reason I say I understand is, I understand. I understand how you would get frustrated when you spend $100-something on something that is not as good as the thing that you picked up at the swap meet for $15 last week.
And you know what's funny is that almost makes it worse. And that would get me to quit faster than if I was just building an old monogram kit. It's like, I know the fit is going to need a little bit of work. I know I'm going to have to do this. I know I'm going to have to do that. But if, you're buying the latest and greatest,
it better
and
be,
you get, it's like, it better fit, and it better fit right. Nowadays there's no excuse. And that's another caveat that I'll talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah. It's like, we know what can be done.
Right. Yep.
And I mean, so it's kind of, you really almost don't, well, like you're saying, we got to look at reviews and stuff, because you just don't know. Just because this kit costs twice as much as this kit and it's the same subject doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Right.
It doesn't. And
and it goes both ways, because just because a kit costs $150,
right,
doesn't mean it's better than the others. And just because a kit costs $30 doesn't mean it's worse than the others.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of redundant to say that, but
unless it's Starfix.
Yeah. Your famous Starfix. Because like that FW 190, the 132nd scale FW 190 from Revell of Germany. I'd read a lot of reviews on it. I watched some videos of people building it, and I heard, and I actually read a lot, because at the time yet there wasn't as many modeling channels because, you know, it's been a few years. Whenever it's been quite a ways back whenever I actually first got the kit, because I got it not long after it came out.
Right.
But I had read a lot of reviews, you know, and people, I mean, first you get the in-box reviews like, oh, this is a phenomenal kit. Well, how do you know? You haven't put it together yet.
Right.
You know,
yeah,
you're just looking
yeah.
at the stuff in the box. Yeah, it looks groovy in the box, but it's not together.
Right.
But then you got some of the people, oh, it's just unbuildable. The wing roots were horrible. The cowling didn't fit, and blah, blah, blah. And then you got others like, went together with no problems. So it was kind of a,
right.
I thought, you know what? One of two things. I'm going to take a chance on it because I think it's a cool aircraft, and I'd already picked out that cool scheme for it. Actually, my son found it for me. He said, hey, Dad, check this out. And I was like, oh, that's the one I'm doing.
Right.
But so I got the kit, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to build this thing, and I'm going in with an open mind. And I did. And, you know, it probably wasn't, if Tamiya were to come out with that same kit now, the Revell kit probably didn't go together as silly easily as a Tamiya kit can.
Right.
But some of the problems that other people had, it's like, okay, one or two things happen here. You didn't actually read the instructions, or you tried to hurry through it, because one of the problems where the wing root that's molded onto the fuselage, and where the wing comes up underneath and kind of blends into just behind the cowling, that was one of the things people complained about. Fill it. There you go. That's where we're complaining about it. I didn't have to use any filler on it. And the only sanding I had to do on it was to get the glue, or not the glue, but the plastic from when I put the glue in and pushed it together, you know, the little bit that oozes out, so it makes like a natural filler. I had to sand that off. That was it. The cowling fit like a glove, you know? So.
And you're like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, this is, you know, but I went in with the expectation knowing it was 50-50. It might go bad, it might go good. In this case, it went great, and I was really stoked. So, you know.
So far we've got price doesn't mean anything, reviews don't mean anything.
Well, the reviews, you know, again, it's like before we started the Chatterbox here, we were talking about, you know, it's just like Amazon. You get 5 people, it's like, oh, that's a 5-star item. It's the best thing I ever saw. And then you get, that's a 1-star. That thing's a piece of junk, didn't work at all, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So, you know, you gotta weed through them, you know.
I remember seeing a review on Amazon. I remember seeing a review on Amazon for a model kit. I don't remember what, and this lady was all mad because she bought it for her kid or her grandkid or whatever. She didn't realize it was a kit. So she gave it a 1-star and was just going on and on and on. And it's like,
it's not the kid's fault.
It's not the product's fault that you didn't understand what you were buying.
Oh. Yep.
But
yeah.
I don't know.
So reviews, yeah, as far as, you know, cost goes, not so much. You know, it's what I'm like. I'll get into that whenever I talk about when I wrap it up. You know,
I guess it's not. I think it's normal to expect more the more you spend.
Exactly.
What more is can be different to different people. But when you look at, like I was talking about the last 3 or 4 Tamiya 48 scale releases, that's a lot of pressure on the other guys.
Yep.
You know, Tamiya has basically proved without a doubt that you can basically put perfection in a box for 80 to 110 bucks
or less
all day long.
I mean, look at the I'm building the 148 scale Spitfire Mark 1 right now.
The new one.
Yeah, the one from
newer
2013, I think, or 2018, something, whatever. It's the newer one. And you know, I'd heard stories, you know, people are like, oh my, you know, it's like, okay, they're just gushing about it, or is it for real? But then I heard some other people talk about it. Okay, now that is somebody that I can
that I
I can
know. Yeah.
trust
Yeah.
their opinion. And you know, that was one of the kits that Eric Davenport had sent me. And so that's the one I'm building right now. And you know what? The hoopla fits. And the thing is it's not a real expensive kit,
Right.
being 1/48 scale.
Right.
But you know, yeah, Tamiya has shown it's like with I don't know what they're doing, but it just seems like it's just like that that 1/72nd scale zero I built a couple years
Yeah.
back. I mean, I was scared to death. I mean, I had built a 170. I can't remember if I built any 1/72nd scale kits when I was like a kid. I'm sure I did, just because they were small and they were cheap, but I don't remember anything about them. So the first 176, because I didn't build any when I was building kits in the 80s.
Right.
You know, everything I built was 1/48 or bigger.
Right.
So when I got that one, I was like, oh my Lord. I thought to myself, this is going to be rough. But I mean, and you hear people, it's like the pieces just practically snap into place. Well, that was the first kit that I built that was, I probably could have put most of the cockpit parts in place and not use glue, you
Right.
know, on the sidewalls. They fit so well, you know?
Right. Right.
And so, you know, you got these manufacturers, they've proven that
It
they
can be
can. I
done.
mean, there's Edward kits that are like the one I built. Oh man, why do I always forget his name? He was the only Luftwaffe pilot to actually escape and get back to Germany to fight again.
Oh.
His name, Franz von Vera,
Okay. Yeah.
the one that got away. There was a book about it. They made a movie about it back in the old days. Hardy Kruger played him, very young Hardy Kruger. But anyway,
Right.
that kit, that E4, it was what was it, the E1, BF 109 E1. That kit was the same way. I mean, that thing just went together great. So there's all kinds of manufacturers that can do it. You know, there's others that don't do it as well. So, you know, yeah, an expectation. Well, if these guys can do it, why can't the other guys?
Right.
Now, the caveat I brought up earlier, there are caveats to that. So, like, for example, that, what was it, Bucher BU 181, that
131.
trainer.
Yeah.
Oh, the trainer that I did. It was a special hobby kit. Now, I'd done my research, and I knew that special hobby is more of a,
They're special for a reason.
they're one and done, you know, they're short run kit,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
they're not going to be, it's not going to be like a Tamiya kit. Okay.
Right.
So I knew that going in. So when I got the kit and I started building it, and the back of the trailing edge of the wings, instead of being, you know, like this, they were more like that.
Yeah.
So I had to do a lot of shaving on the inside, you know, to get it to where, you know, but I knew that going in. So the expectation I had for that kit was realistic.
Right.
So that was my caveat I was going to bring up earlier. It's like, you know, if you go into a Tamiya kit or some other high dollar kit, I expect the stinking thing to fit.
Right.
Because I'm shelling out.
And I don't think that's unreasonable at all.
Exactly. You go into a kit like Special Hobby, you know, it's going to cost a lot less. You know going in, so don't complain, you know, unless you don't know going in. But again, that goes back to play things like scale mates. There's really no reason that you can't, you know, and everybody's got one of these. Whoops. Where is it? One of these.
Yeah.
Everybody's got one of these. So when you're in the hobby shop and you see something like, hey, I never thought about building one of those. Scale mates, kit number, blah, 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 blah. Check it out real quick. You can kind of get an idea. So, you know, you shouldn't be too surprised, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So that kind of, I categorize that as expectation according to the kit or kit manufacturer.
Right.
You know?
Right. And something that I find interesting is, and this kind of came about with the Tamiya F14, and then AMK was doing their F14, and so you got like AMK and you got GWH, and they, they're up there in the $90-$100 range too, but they're, from what I understand, is they have more features, I guess, than say the Tamiya version,
Right.
but the fit isn't as good as the Tamiya. So it's got like the AMK F14. The thing with that in those days, yeah, it was a couple of years ago, but well, that one's got the drop flaps and all this stuff and blah 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 blah, and the Tamiya kit didn't. Well, now they're putting that version out, but the point is, that's a trade-off because you're essentially talking the same money, but you're getting different things. In one instance, you're giving up some fit and engineering for some, I don't necessarily want to say more detail, but other detail or additional detail or whatever. And on this hand, you're giving up certain features that you might like, being the drop flaps or whatever. One thing that I really like, that you're seeing more and more, is having separate open and closed canopies. For me, that's a plus.
You know what?
Yeah, I've got the hind kit. It's got the separate inserts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The separate inserts, depending on if you're, so by doing that, whenever you get, because like I thought, why would you need separate inserts for the different, open or closed canopy? Well, right here, I don't know if you can see it. Oh man, it's going to get all weirded out, but it's recessed.
Yeah.
In comparison to the one for the closed canopy. So when you have the canopy opened,
that's right. Yeah.
It appears thinner, I'm always talking about why can't these manufacturers figure out something with canopies? They're so bleeding thick.
Right.
That's one way of creating the illusion of a thinner, more scale canopy, because it's recessed in. So you got those you got those panels, so you can choose what you want. Do you want it open or closed?
Right. Yeah, the hind is the same way. I have the hind kit, and it's the same way. Although I gotta say, that canopy on that P38 was pretty thin.
Yeah.
It really was. I was like, wow. And I didn't put any kind of clear on it or anything, and it's as clear as can be.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I mean, I guess that's it for me. Is it's a value thing, and different people have different values, but again, I said there's that irrational part. There's a lot of people out there that probably look at a P47 kit that's now 25 years old, mold, or whatever, and they're still $50.
Yeah.
40 or $50, and I mean, I got enough of them that I don't need any more of them, but
something else, I was thinking about this today after we decided on the topic. Another thing, and a lot of people don't think of this, but after having built a couple of Dragon kits,
yes,
something that's important to me in a model kit is the flipping instructions. I never thought that would be a thing, but after having built a couple of Dragon kits, it's like, okay, really? It's like, oh my goodness. Because you got like Tamiya instructions, you've got whoever, Revell instructions, whoever, for the most part, they're dead on accurate. It's like you can follow the instructions. You don't have to worry about guessing. Okay, is this really the part that's supposed to be on here, or or misnumbered on the instructions, stuff like that. And the few Dragon kits that I've built, while the kits were okay themselves, the instructions were frustrating.
Oh,
and if somebody said, okay, hey, it's like you can have this Dragon, Tiger One mid, or this trumpeter, even trumpeter Tiger One mid, I'd take the trumpeter one. I built the trumpeter kit. Instructions beautiful.
Right.
Didn't have to guess at anything.
Right.
Oh my Lord, that stinking Dragon kits that I built, it's like, oh my goodness. And then the bad part about it is you build one and he's like, oh, I built this kit. It's like, oh yeah, did you catch in the instructions where you're supposed to use such and such part for this version instead of this part? It's like, oh, now you're going to tell me after it's all painted and done, really,
Right. And again, those aren't cheap kits. Not really.
Exactly. No, they aren't.
I remember I was building, I want to say it was like a Valentine or something out of their old Imperial series, the old red box ones.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago, but
yep.
And I think it was a Valentine, and the thing sat on my workbench for probably 2 weeks because I could not figure out how to put the final drives on the side of the hull the way that they went. I couldn't. The instructions didn't really give you a good enough idea of where they were supposed to go, and there was just something. I don't remember the whole thing, but I just remember me being completely baffled.
Yeah.
On how these things went on or were supposed to go on the hull. I eventually figured it out.
Right.
And it was really obvious once you figure it out,
Yeah.
but I stared at that thing for at least a week.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I don't know how this is supposed to go on here.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so instructions for me is kind of a thing,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't really have to worry about it, but again, that is going to determine, with the knowledge I have now, all things equal, if I can get this kit or this kit, I'm going to get the one with the better instructions. Yeah, right. You may, the parts count may be lower, which doesn't necessarily which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
But even if there's some, I don't know, you get into all the flipping kit stuff, but yeah, instructions are kind of important to me.
Well, here's one. What's up with the Tamiya decals, man? What? It's like you guys can do everything right except for the decals.
I think I mentioned it to you the other day.
Yeah, you did.
And it's like you rub your finger across them. It's like, you rub your thumb across and it's going. It's like a motocross course, man.
I would just be interested in what their reasoning is, and I mean, I have my theories. I think I think they probably realize that most people, and maybe it's not true, but a lot of the people that are in that target area are probably not going to use the kit decals anyway. And by making them more robust, less experienced modelers won't really have as much. Yeah. I'm totally making this up. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's just, and I think the same thing too. It's like, well, maybe they're making them to where, they're tougher or whatever, but I just built that Arma Hobbies Hurricane, and their decals, once I put just one flat coat on it, when I was done, those suckers disappeared.
Right.
They don't look like decals.
Right.
And they're tough, really? Because I put those things on there, and it's like whatever glue they use on those things, it sticks. So, I mean, I was getting my thumb. I mean, at one point I was getting frustrated. It's like, okay, if this thing tears, I don't care. I'll spray the stupid markings on. I was like, just pushing it, and it slid, but it didn't tear. Wow. And I was like, oh my word, this is awesome.
Wow.
So, the whole thickness thing, I mean, because I've used, that's another thing. Revell of Germany, 1/32 scale kits, cartograph decals.
Right.
The ones on on that which kit was it? I had a 109, a 132nd 109 that ended up getting broke before I
Yeah.
finished it, but I have another. I used some of the decals off of there, off the ones in the kit, and beautiful decals, and the same thing. I shoot a flat coat over it, and they virtually disappeared because they were so thin.
Right.
And then you've got some of these other ones. It's like, I'm not saying Tamiya's name or anything, but you put them on there, and it's like, if you're looking at it in profile, it's like, oh, there's the decal, and then okay, back down to the plastic. It's just, they're so thick.
It's like driving down the 55 freeway.
Yeah, or it's extra armor. Maybe that's what they're thinking. It's a Sherman, so we're gonna make the stars really
It's a patch
thick.
panel. It's a patch panel. Yeah, I don't know. It's. But I guess the reason I bring it up is because again, you're talking about a $100 kit or an $80 kit or whatever, and it's like, okay, this $20 or $25 Airfix kit, well, their decals aren't that great either. But I mean, I would say most kits out there have thinner decals,
Right.
than those, and I used them on my P38, and they're okay. I mean, it's fine.
I've used them on some of my kits, whenever it doesn't, it's not as big a deal, because like, if now armor, I try and really avoid it, because with weathering, that's when you run into trouble. Because if you like dry brushing or oil paint rendering or whatever, you end up with an accumulation ghost outside the star or whatever the marking is. So that's when it's really, a problem.
But it's just kind of ridiculous that you can literally take a 1980s Revell decal or monogram decal, and it's a better decal.
Well, you know what though, is I maybe I don't remember, but I don't remember to me decals always being like that. Because when I was building in the 80s, I was really getting into weathering and all this kind of stuff, because I was reading all kinds of Champagne, all kinds of Verlin, and so I was getting all into this. And I don't remember that being such an issue. As a matter of fact, I remember putting, it surprised me, because I had put Zimmerit on a King Tiger, Tamiya King Tiger, and I put the decal on there, and I used, Walter Salvaset on there. Right. And I mean, I put one coat of that on there, and they look like they'd been painted on. I don't know if that would happen now.
I don't have that memory.
See, I don't. Maybe I didn't build enough.
But I mean, in those days, I don't think I knew about decal solvent, microsol, or anything like that. But I think the first Tamiya armor kit I built was the Panzer III, the old Panzer III kit, and I've still got pictures of that somewhere. And that would have been, oh geez, probably the late 70s. But I still remember the film on the crosses on that.
Yeah,
for sure. But I've got some old Tamiya decal sheets, and
I've got some ancient ones, man.
They're not great. Yeah, they're not great.
I haven't looked at
the nice
them
thing about them was they give you the national markings and a whole bunch of numbers and stuff, and you could do what you want.
Yep.
The only way they could have made them better, and I don't know why they never did this, they could have done one decal sheet that had all the different unit markings and just a bunch of numbers and the national mark. I mean, I'm talking for the German armor.
Right.
And just had one decal sheet. And just use that same decal sheet in every box.
For every box, yep. They could have done. That's right.
And that would have been it. End of it,
Yep. But, so let's talk brass tacks here. I'm going to give my what I expect in a kit. Hopefully in a nutshell. It might be a coconut shell, so bigger nutshell, but hopefully in a nutshell.
All right.
So for me, a kit has to be, first and foremost, buildable. And by that, I mean, I don't want to have to, as our British friends say, faff about with, a bunch of filler and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So for those out there that like to make these comparisons, yes. In that way, I'm an assembler. Okay.
Okay.
I have the basic modeling skills. I can do that kind of stuff. But at this point in life, I don't want to mess with it.
Same here. Yeah.
There's so many good kits out there. I don't need to mess with it.
Right.
Now, if I have some weird thing like that a few years back when I built that weasel, that old monogram weasel, nobody else makes a weasel, and I wanted to build one.
Right.
Knew what I was getting into when I did it, but it's not a modern kit, so I knew what to expect. But nowadays, I want a kit that's going to go together really well with minimal cleanup. Is that lazy? Well, I guess you could say so, but I want to move on to other stuff. I'm going to get more into the paint and all that kind of stuff with it. So I just want to be able to build the thing, do a little bit of touch up on the seam lines, the joint, where the joints are, like the spine of an aircraft or the leading wing edges, whatever. I don't want to have to. So first and foremost, it's got to be easily buildable. Okay. If I have to do a little bit, it's not that big a deal, but I just want a kit that I know is going to go together. Hence my desire for Tamiya kits for the most part.
Right.
Second, probably accuracy. And by accuracy, again, that's a minefield, especially with armor, and especially with German armor. It's like you want to build a certain kit. Hopefully you're lucky enough to get one that the markings in the kit are actually for that specific vehicle, made in that specific factory and stuff. Because I mean, that stuff is those guys that can just get on there and say, oh well, it's like these hooks were mounted the opposite way from this month to this month at this one factory. Blah blah blah, and they can get into all that minutia and stuff. And it's like those guys, I admire those people's abilities.
Here, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but I got to tell you this because this was really interesting. So, this was in the IPMS forum on the IPMS website, and there was a discussion about accuracy versus craftsmanship. And I don't really remember how the discussion was going, but somebody that was using a Char-B for as an example brought this up as an example, and so somebody had a reference photo where the exhaust tips are pointed. I think the exhaust tips were pointed down.
Yeah. And
somebody said, well, yeah, that's the way the instructions has them. Well, then somebody had the instruction sheet for like the German marked version of it rather than the French marked version. And the exhaust tips, it shows you to install them up, pointing up instead of pointing down. Tamiya kit, same kit,
wow.
2 different versions. And I don't remember if there was another reference photo with them pointed up, but the whole conversation was like, which one's right?
Yeah.
It's like, is it, and really we just basically came to the conclusion, it was like, well, it could honestly be, it's just a pipe coming out of a muffler.
Yeah.
They could put it on whichever way they wanted. And
that's funny.
So you got to wonder, it's like, okay, well, did Tamiya figure out that it was wrong? So when they released the next version, they fixed it and I don't know, but point being, there's your you're talking about accuracy. It's like, okay, well, what's right and what, See,
that gets into our next Chatterbox about research.
Yeah, right. But so anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. It
was just like, wow, it was a very interesting discussion.
It seems like I heard something about that.
Yeah.
In passing somewhere.
Because it was like, somebody just shows up and goes, ha ha ha, here's the same kit but different markings, different instructions. and shows it the
That's
exact
hilarious.
opposite. And everybody was like, what?
Oh my goodness, that is funny. Yeah, then you got the dude that's already built a French version. It's like, oh man, did I do it wrong?
Right.
Oh
Right.
man.
Anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, so for me, buildability, accuracy, and probably instructions.
Right.
Okay. The other components, uh, photo etch, not necessary for me. You know, if I can get by with a kit without photo etch, I'm probably gonna
Yeah.
be a lot more happy. But if there is photo etch included and it makes sense, I'm good with that. Okay.
Right.
I don't like a lot of photo etch when it's not necessary.
Right.
Don't like it. Too much extra work for nothing.
Right.
So buildability, accuracy, instructions, decals. If they're cool, that's fine. But most of the time, I'm either going to do my own scheme and I'm going to paint them on there, or I'm going to get an aftermarket decal set, which is generally, not always, but generally better than the kit supplied decals anyway.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
so the markings, that's not a deal for me. You know, as long as I can build the thing and it goes together well without a lot of, extra, basic modeling skills.
Yeah.
And it's accurate and the instructions are good and I can get it done. That's my criteria. That's what I expect from a kit. Especially like you said from the get-go, if it's a high dollar kit, it better
tick all those boxes.
tick those boxes. And even if I'm not using the decals, I probably should pick the decal box too, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I may want to build those decals, so it better be good.
Yeah. And I'm kind of wondering if we're going to start seeing paint masks one of these days in kit boxes, and
We
who
might
knows?
because for a long time you didn't get paint masks for the canopies. Now there's
Yeah.
all kinds of brands,
Yeah.
that are doing it.
Yeah.
Some of them you have to cut out yourself, but some of them are already pre-cut for you, and they're in there. So
Right.
yeah, you may see it. I mean, if some of these, especially, I mean, good grief, you'd think, if probably especially on higher end kits, because for the most part, people that buy higher end kits have a lot more experience with a model, and they wouldn't be as hesitant to use masks
Yeah.
to do their their markings and stuff.
Right.
I
Right.
never thought of that. That might not be a bad
I don't
idea.
know, with the 3D printing and all this stuff going on, I mean, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
It's totally up in the air. I was sitting here thinking about with Nats coming up the other day, and I was thinking, I don't honestly see with the advent of this 3D printing and people being able to very easily make their own custom parts and stuff at home. I don't really see. I think the people that group of people are going to start dominating that contest, which is fine. I'm
Well,
just thinking my way through things. It's like,
there's
if
there's one YouTube channel I've been watching recently. It's one I've discovered just recently, and he builds a lot of armor. And he's got a 3D printer. And he busts out with, I was working on the tracks. I didn't like the way they went together. They have solid guide horns instead of hollow. So I decided to make my own. He whips them out.
right,
It's like, holy cow. And the thing is that I don't know how new it is, but I hadn't heard about it till just somewhat recently, is T-Rex. It's a company that does 3D printing. And Adam Mann has consulted with them.
oh well,
Since he's got, actual tracks and all this kind of stuff,
yeah.
and he's so knowledgeable about that stuff, helping them, from what I read, helping them with their models, I guess they're 3D models or whatever. So they're making these 3D printed tracks that are like ultra realistic, and the price is good.
Right.
They're doing tool clamps and just all kinds of crazy stuff.
Right.
So yeah, 3D printing stuff, and if somebody had one of those printers, it's like, go online, buy the file or create it yourself, and
Right.
okay, I got my tracks. I don't have to, wait for Sprue Brothers to send them to me or
Right.
whoever,
Right.
I don't have to use the kit ones.
Right.
It's just,
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Who knows? But yeah, for me, what do I expect out of a kit, or um I guess the number one important thing for me is subject matter, and that may sound silly,
no,
but I'm really interested in. I'm willing to go.
man.
I'm willing to dip my. Oh, I'm willing to dip my. I'm willing to dip my foot in a pool full of piranhas to get what I want once in a while.
Right. Well, no, and I understand that. It's just like the same thing with that weasel. I knew I was going to have to do a junk ton of work on it because nobody made one.
Right.
Did it go together really super easy like the models I like to build? No, I had to do a lot of work to it, but I knew that going in. So
right.
There are exceptions.
So I guess my very top two would be the subject matter, and then the next one under that, and these are both very generic, but would be it needs to look like what it's supposed to look like. And you can call that accuracy, but to me accuracy's below that. It's
Right.
it needs to have the general, I don't even want to say shape, I want to say character
Right.
of what it's supposed to be. And that doesn't mean I'm not concerned with accuracy and shape, because I am. But sometimes things are accurate and they don't look right.
I with you saying that, that's more what I mean.
Okay.
I don't mean, everything has to be exact, but it has to look like what I'm building pretty stinking close. Like there's no,
Right.
If somebody looks at it and says, that's a, this is a Panzer III,
Right.
Alf D or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, that's cool. And they get real close and say, oh, well, this is a little bit different. That kind of stuff doesn't bother me. If you're
Right.
looking at it, it's like, okay, that's Panzer III,
Right.
So I think
Right.
I agree with you on that one. Accuracy is not really the word I should have used. More of what you said. It doesn't have the accuracy to the last detail. It just, when I'm done with it and it looks like a Mark I Spitfire, boom.
Right.
That's what I'm looking for.
And it's obviously a Mark I and not, well, I mean, there's not a whole lot of difference to a Mark II, but
right.
the prop but
didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. But so that, and then I would say, the buildability, because we're in the same boat. I don't, if I can't get something done in like 4 weeks, it really starts lingering on me bad, and right now I have other issues. I can't, I can feel this. I mean, I know it's in my hand, but I can't feel it as well as I would. I could very easily drop this, just because I can't really tell how much pressure I have on it. And I've always been a person with a light touch. I don't really grab things, so it's kind of dangerous for me. But so, and that's really kept me away from the bench a lot here lately, and that's a whole different discussion. But where was I going with that? I don't even know now.
No, you're saying Buildability is the topic you were talking about.
Yeah. So, one of my projects that's on my list is the Airfix 124th Stuka. Okay. I had that kit when I was 11. My grandparents got it for me for Christmas when I was 11 and 10 or 11, 10 when I was 10. And so that would have been 76. Yeah. And in the MPC boxing, because that's what they had at the local hardware store, because we bought everything at the local hardware store, right? Toys, ammo, nails,
Yep.
lawnmowers, if it wasn't food, you bought it at the hardware store. That's just the way it was.
M1 rifles in a barrel for cheap.
In a barrel sitting by the cash register.
Yep. Oh, by the way, I'll take a pack of gum and this M1 grand. Thanks. Talk about your impulse buying.
People would just lose their mind nowadays.
Yep.
Oh, anyway. So I got another one in the MPC boxing, and so that's the detail. That's considering when that kit was made, it's got a really good detail, and it's very buildable. I didn't have any issues with it when I was 10, and it's got an engine in it, but the engine's horrible.
Yeah.
The engine's basically
two halves.
It's two halves, and it's got a bunch of molded in detail.
Yeah.
Honestly, and I'm going off of memory because I haven't looked at it. I don't even think I think mine's still in shrink wrap the one I have now. But no, I'm not one of those people that immediately rips the shrink wrap on. I can bring it home and put it on the shelf and open it when I'm ready, because I can go online and look at the sprues if I want. But
yep.
And really, that's the only thing that kit needs is a decent engine.
Wow.
And it's,
God, that thing's got to be huge.
40 years old. Oh yeah, it's 2-foot wingspan.
Holy smokes, man.
So yeah, the wingspan's like, yeah, it's big. It's not as big as the B-29, but and it's massive. That's a big airplane. People look at it and you think, oh, it's the same size as single engine fighter. No.
No,
it's not.
Not even.
No, it's not.
Thing's probably got
it's almost as big as a mosquito.
I was gonna say it's probably got a wingspan like a mosquito.
Yeah, it's almost
as big. That's a 2-engine.
Yeah. So I would say yeah, the detail's important to me because but on some things more than others, as I've said many times before, there are certain subjects that are just more important to me than others. But I'm not I'm looking at these Tamiya Corsairs I have in my display case right here, and I mean, I'm just as much of a fan of an F4U Corsair as anybody else, but are those kits shape-wise 100% accurate? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I know the paint jobs I put on them are period correct, and that they look like what they're supposed to look like.
Yeah. Well, an example of the not to get too far off again, but an example for me of a kit that when you get done with it is going to look like what it's supposed to. The guy had been doing those reviews for his armor kits, Keith.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me an old Bandai 1/24th scale P-51 Mustang. I'd never even heard of the thing. I didn't know they made one.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, wow. I said, that's really cool. So I looked it up online, and he's naturally, I mean, this kid came out. I don't remember when it came out. It came out a long time ago.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh yeah, the cord's too thick, and this and that and the other. It's like, oh brother, here we go. But then there was other people that were saying, yeah, there may be detail issues, but it's a fun kit to build, and when you're done, it's huge,
It's huge.
and it looks like a P-51. And just looking at the fuselage and the wings and everything, boom, yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. So I'm really, I'm looking forward to, sinking into that one of these days. I want to get some of my other stuff built first, but man, that thing,
My
that's a,
brother
big
had
kit,
the
man.
Airfix one. Yeah, my
Oh,
brother had the Airfix one.
yeah, man.
Yeah, and that was, did he build that? I don't know if he even ever, he might have attempted it. I don't know. Yeah, those things were big. I mean, they're big now. When you're a
Yeah,
kid, they're really big.
yep, man.
But
1/24th. So
yeah, so
anyway,
it's for me, at the end of the day, I guess that's really it. It needs to look like what it's supposed to look like. But like you, the more money I'm spending, the more I expect,
yep,
and if I'm gonna, and I guess my expectations really lean toward the fit more than, I guess the fit is worth more money to me than the accuracy.
right.
That,
That makes perfect
does that
sense.
make sense?
That makes perfect sense. That's the way I am,
Yeah,
especially. But then you get back into that value thing because just like
yeah,
that FW 190, it was $30,
right,
but it fit together really well.
right,
I had a blast building the thing. The detail was great,
right,
so it fit all my criteria, especially since I didn't care about the decals. Of course, the decals that came with it were cartograph. It's just not the markings I wanted,
right,
so even if I use kit, that's a plus to me.
right,
But again, if Tamiya were making that thing, okay, well, yeah, my criteria still is the same, but it better be pretty stinking sweet, for
right,
me to pay all that extra money for it,
right.
you know?
Yeah. Not saying that it's not better. It's just value wise.
Right.
Is it? Yeah. It's like
Yep.
we're not making the argument that it's not worth it. We're not saying that at all. We're just saying,
Exactly.
or that it's not better or whatever. It's like, well, yeah, it's better, but to me, this is a better value.
And to each person, their idea of value may be completely different.
Yeah.
You're going to
Yeah.
get that person that is like, if they pay, they're willing to pay more money if the detail isn't as good, but the shape is perfect because they want to add all the extra detail.
Right.
It's an individual thing,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I think a lot of people though want to be able to get a kit and just build it.
Right.
Regardless of what some people may say. I
Right.
think there's a lot of people that want to be able to just get it and build it and not have to worry about, but there are those people who just thrive on older kits and,
Right. Yeah. I mean,
so that what they want in a kit is totally different than what I want in a kit,
right.
you know?
Well, and what I want in a kit now is totally different than I wanted in a kit 10 years ago.
Exactly. Yep.
Plain and simple. There's no question about that.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of evolution for a lot of people in what they want in a kit. Like if we were to be having this conversation, like you said, 10 years ago, it's like, oh, I want to bring back some of those memories of when I was a kid. That's why I got this monogram, 1/32 scale Sherman Calliope rocket launcher, the Screaming Mimi.
Right.
I mean, that kit was a chore. I had a lot of fun doing it, but would I do it now? I don't know.
Well, the first thing I got my hands on was when I came back permanently in 2009 or 2010 or whenever it was, monogram B-17G.
Well, I got to be honest. I'd be hard pressed not to tackle one of those again if one came up. One in the monogram box.
I have an original.
Yeah. See, that and even the B-24. That was one I never built. My brother
I never
built
did either. Yeah.
and I was like, oh, I've always thought that's just the most awesome looking ugly airplane ever. And I thought, oh man, if I could get a couple of those, one of each of those, regardless how old it was, I think I'd really tackle that. because I built one back in the early 90s.
We might have to talk. We were talking about a buddy build. I got the kits.
Yeah, maybe we'll need to talk there, amigo.
I have to get my hands. I got to get my hands fixed first.
Yes, you do.
Anyway.
So anyway, back to wrapping up this topic.
Yeah. So I don't know really what else to say from my end. Is it's got to, you know, I'm a subject matter builder really for the most part, and it's got to look like what it's got to look like, and they're supposed to look like, and a lot of that, that's not all kit shape. A lot of that is finishing, painting, and whatnot, and so, but as you said, the more money I spend, the more I want, the more I expect.
The more you expect, that's right. Better be pretty stinking good.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you won't catch me driving a $90,000 F350 King Ranch dually, because it ain't worth it to me.
No.
You know,
that is right.
You're more likely to find me driving a $2,000 91 F350 that's got half the bed rusted off, because all I'm doing is hauling stuff to the dump. I don't care what it looks like.
and then you got knuckleheads like me that, you know, of course you wouldn't be able to find one, but you know, 1969 Datsun pickup.
Oh, heck yeah.
My pop had one of those, man. That thing was awesome. I love that thing, man.
I actually saw, now we're getting off on a tangent, but I actually saw a 620, like a 77 or a 78 620 single cab long bed at the store like a week and a half ago, in that tan, that Nissan or the Datsun tan.
Oh man.
And I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Holy cow, man. Yeah, that
some little old guy
man.
driving it. Some little old guy driving it. It's like he's probably bought that thing brand new.
Probably changed oil about 6,000 times on it in its lifetime. It's still running like a champ.
Oh, anyway.
Cool.
Yeah,
all
so
right.
that's where I'm at. It's if you're asking me to spend premium money, I have premium expectations.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
You know, and we know you can deliver, manufacturers. We know.
Some are doing it. You know, you need to do some of that industrial espionage to figure it out. Well,
I have, you know, I just want to say real quick, I have not tried, like, you know, I've been hearing about these Doro Wings kits and some of these other, I don't know if they're short run guys or what, but, and they're supposed to be really good kits.
Arma Hobbies, I'm telling you, I know I keep harping on that brand, but you know, I heard about them and I'm thinking, wow, the sources are sources that I trust. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I got to give it a shot. I got a gift card, you know, for my kids for Father's Day. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go on it. I bought it off Amazon, and yeah, it's a small company, but they're doing it right. I mean, for a small company, I mean, not even for a small company. This kit it's not like a special hobby kit. Right. You know, if I had to equate it to something, maybe between Hobby Boss and newer Tamiya, but closer to Tamiya. Mm-hmm. I mean, it went together that good.
Cost wise, how much? What was it cost wise?
It was cheap. It was with, let's see, I think I was able to get it on Prime. So I think it was like $26.
Oh wow!
And change.
So it's Airfix price for Tamiya quality.
26 and change, and yeah.
Wow.
That's why I keep harping on it. I was really pleasantly surprised. And the thing is, you know, they've got a whole line of 72nd scale kits, and they're going to be moving into 148 scale from what I heard on an interview with them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And if they can do that, I mean, it's really some quality stuff. I mean, the instructions are really nice. The decals were great. I mean, it ticks all the boxes and then some for me, you know. the one complaint I always have about stuff, is especially aircraft, is the thickness of the canopies. But right now, I don't think there's anything physically possible that they can do to alleviate
Right.
that problem. But I mean, if you're
But remember, folks, the hobby is dying.
the hobby's dying, yes, it is.
We're
Yeah,
getting all this new stuff, and it's getting cheaper, and yeah, we're not. It's not dying.
yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, so that's a wrap, I think. So viewers,
Ah,
since I'm going to be posting this one on my channel this time, as I always say, if you have any comments, put them in the comment section down below. This time, what are your thoughts? Be careful there with the hands, all right?
this finger, yeah.
What are your thoughts? What's your criteria? What's important to you in a kit? Maybe list 3 things if you feel like it.
Yeah.
The 3 things in order of importance even. What is important to you in a kit? Because I'd like to read about it, see what you guys have to say, and I'm sure everybody else would like to read it too.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting because, as we know, there's people that pick kits for different reasons. And so, yeah, it'd be interesting to know.
Yep. Groovy stuff. So, one more quick thing. I want to put a link down below. We do this on each other's channels. So I'm going to put a link down below for Jim's channel. So make sure you click on that and go check out his channel because he's got the other Chatterbox stuff. If I remember, I'll tack one at the end of the video. So you can just click on that if you want to go see one of the other ones and go check out his channel and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for me. How about you, Jim?
I got nothing. As usual, take care of the people you love.
Thanks for joining us here on Chatterbox, and we'll see you all later.